Okay, well, let's start my presentation. My name is Daria Cybulska. I'm the program director at Wikimedia UK. And earlier this year, I was doing a secondment at an organization called Changemaker Foundation that does advocacy and change making in the civic space. And that project led me to this idea, which I'll tell you about now. It's a it's a session to present the idea that I'm developing and gather a little bit of feedback about materials for change making, really. A way of facilitating our thinking about how Wikimedia can be used for change. Change being thought here really broadly. It could be about advocacy, but it could be about any sort of shifting, any sort of issue that is important to us as Wikimedians. The materials aren't actually ready yet. This is more about presenting the idea itself and kind of me talking about how Wikimedia holds a potential for shifting things in the world, both because of how big the movement is and because of how recognizable the brand is. I believe that Wikimedians can all be change makers, either and have the potential for creating change, either by getting a little bit more support with how to do this, or just by spreading the awareness that this is something that we can all do. I think that a lot of our work so far has been focused on public policy, but actually the scope is so much broader than this. We work on things like knowledge equity, information literacy, civic engagement. All of those things are issues that we could shift. So, like I said, this is a new project, but I'll tell you a little bit about the type of materials that will be created. Now, so this is a collaboration with an organization called Changemaker Foundation. It's a charity of similar size to Wikimedia UK, my home chapter. They're based in the UK, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. It's their first time collaborating with the Wikimedia movement, first time that they'll be thinking about open knowledge, so it's exciting both for me and for them. Because of their focus on change and supporting campaigners, it's quite important to them that as many people as possible know about their work. So it only made sense that they engage with Wikimedia so that they share the materials and kind of empower the whole world to make change. This is what's important to them. They talk a lot about civil society, how that body, the citizens, can drive change in the world, but also in the life, in their communities. And to do that well, they have to be skilled and free to do so. That they have this concept of social power. That's essentially like citizens having skills and freedom to do what's important to them. So they talk about confident and powerful civil society, people coming together to drive change. So there's a lot of kind of big concepts here. They have this like their own idea of social power. They talk about civil society. For me, what's important is that it's simply about people outside of government or business coming together to do something that's important to them. That's all. But still, it's quite powerful. I think what's interesting, so this is Wikimedia UK, and there is a lot of overlap with what's important to us comparing to this organization, Changemaker Foundation. Like, as you can see, we talk about democracy, information, equity, without actually mentioning Wikipedia. It's all about kind of creating a world that has people with access to information, that value democracy through open knowledge, but it's about kind of empowering the wider civil society. Like we think about the power of Wikimedia editing or just the information, how it connects to information literacy, and how that creates better democracy and more informed citizens. So through this overlap, we've decided that it makes sense to connect to Changemaker and work together on those materials that I'll be telling you about. So this is a bit of a teaser, I guess. I'll explain to you what sort of materials we were thinking to release. And the idea is that we'll have a bit of a discussion about whether this makes sense. So I'll spend a little bit of time explaining this. So Changemaker Foundation does like advocacy for civic space. It talks a lot about protecting democracy and the threats to democracy. It creates all those concepts like social power that I've mentioned earlier. And it also does a lot of training. So it trains campaigners, it trains people who want to create change. And they have like this kind of package of training of 9 modules that go to kind of more details of different aspects of change making. Those are the 3 introductory ones that we've chosen to release. So the first one is the introduction to social change, which, and by the way, like it talks about campaigners and campaigns here a lot. I sort of approach this in a very broad way. Like I think kind of people who want to make change, campaigners, advocacy people, like that's all one bucket for me. And campaigning can be seen as something quite specific and specialized in the advocacy world. But I mean, by campaign, I just mean a project that's focused on change that's more than one email or one meeting with a politician. It's just something a bit more extensive. So Introduction to Social Change talks about how to understand power, social change, campaigning. It generally just gives an introduction to how to organize something that transforms a situation, essentially. It includes kind of concepts that SMK has created, like a social change grid, which I'll show you in a second. And there's also like a Q&A to kind of understand better what this is all about, essentially. So that's the first one, like really basic kind of what is social change, how stuff shifts from, and it could be about anything really, like it's not specific to a topic. It could be about civic rights, or it could be like some sort of a special issue in your neighborhood that you want to change. Then there is analyzing the problem and planning for change. So this is quite a good module to kind of dig deeper into what it is that you're trying to shift and how to go about it. Like maybe it could be about changing copyright policy at an organization or changing an education curriculum, anything really. This module helps to develop a strategy and a good response to how to organize the campaign, how to organize the project that you want to affect change. It talks about exploring your organizational missions, but it could be about your group or even just your own kind of general strategy in the context of the wider world, and how to identify areas where you can, that you can target to change something. And then lastly, it's quite an important module. We've decided to include communicating for change, which is about creating framing, narratives, stories, and communication to, I guess, sell, explain, get engagement to the change project that you're working on, and also thinking about key audiences. I think this one particularly I'm quite excited about. I think a lot of Wikimedians could benefit from thinking about their work in this way. So those are the 3 modules. This is kind of like the core, the heart of what the project is focusing on what it will publish by the end of the year, hopefully. So this is what I am hoping to get some feedback on. But before that, I'll show you a short video that explains one of the elements of the training, the social change grid, which is an element included in the introduction to social change. So this should work. A bit of a hard cut there. Okay, so that's all I have in terms of the introduction to what will be released as a part of this project. I have a few questions. I'm gonna look to Casey to help me organize how to best do this, but just to give you a sense of the sort of things that I want to hear about. If it made sense what I was describing, I'm curious to hear what sort of gaps there might be in what I was describing. What are your general thoughts about like using Wikimedia for change? Like, does my framing make sense? And if it makes sense, what sort of questions do you still have? What would you like to learn? Those are the 3 modules that we're thinking to release. And then I'm also curious about like general approaches to learning in the Wikimedia movement, because one thing I'm also thinking about is what's the best home for those materials and in what format so that they are best used. So I think in a second I'm going to try and work out how to best do this, but in case you just want to hear about the materials, here is like where to find out more. Feel free to email me. Like I said, the materials will be ready around December or January, and then I think published somewhere on Wiki and promoted around February. SMK, that's the organization that's releasing the materials, and the first link, if you can follow it, it's current home of the project. It has more details. I think if you Google Changemaker toolbox, maybe advocacy Wikimedia, you should be able to find it. Okay, so I wonder what's the best way. Casey. Yeah, like, shall we, like, okay, so if anybody wants to talk to me about this some more, I wonder about like gathering here. I don't know if that should be streamed because I don't know how well this will look, but I suggest. Join me here. if you want. Sorry? Oh, okay, and we have a mic. Okay. That could work. First, I'd like to get a sense if anybody is interested to talk to me, because otherwise I think we can finish the stream. I'm not getting much help.